commentator's delightful phrase, it's wild, it's woolly, it's western, and good watching. Like my wife. Sorry.
An adventurous contemporary woman, Sarah Ferguson seemed a promising addition to the royal household. A witty match for Prince Andrew, an old friend of the late Princess Diana, and country sports enthusiast alongside the Queen. The possibility of going wrong seemed far-fetched. However, as time went on, her choice of clothing, hobbies, holidays, and the design of her new home caused a whirlwind of media and controversy. Her behaviour didn't fit the royal mould, which became increasingly difficult to handle.
I would just like to thank you all for the most wonderful welcome. And also...
The press had decided that Sarah was an easy target for cruel headlines, which was not helped by their bias not to show a large sum of the positive work she dedicated her time to. Her fiery, spontaneous spirit was deemed too much for the more rigid institution and what was expected of her position. The Duchess continued to make irreversible mistakes.
People see the royal family as sort of the upstanding middle-class morality, and the more divorces and scandals and things we have, I think it erodes the sort of very foundation of the monarchy.
And it looks as if it might be that they're trying a job of social execution on the Duchess.
But unlike the late Princess of Wales's tragic tale, Sarah survived and managed to reinvent herself time after time.
Was that something you saw as a fault in yourself?
Oh, I think so. I think I made huge faults, don't we all? Make huge mistakes.
Officially, Sarah Ferguson would be known as the Princess Andrew, but she could become a Duchess if strong speculation that the Queen will give Prince Andrew the title Duke of York proves correct.
Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson were one of the highest-profile royal couples ever when Andrew proposed in Scotland at Flaws Castle.
Inside, the royal couple was showing off the ring, which Prince Andrew said was made by engineers and Miss Ferguson said was designed by the Prince himself.
We were made to sit next door to each other at lunch at Ascot.
Yes, and you made me eat chocolate profiteroles, which I didn't want to eat at all.
I then didn't have any, so I got hit. Then
Very
it started
hard.
from there. I think that's probably where it...
I was meant to be on a diet.
The couple were married on July 23, 1986 at Westminster Abbey, with 500 million people tuning in to watch the televised nuptials.
The dress is in ivory silk Duchess satin, its bodice embroidered with the thistle and bees from her new coat of arms. The train, all 17.5 feet of it, has hearts and anchors and waves on it, and a big A for Andrew. At this precise moment, Sarah Ferguson became Duchess of York.
The happy crowd surged down the Mall, trapping ITN's Martin Lewis.
Absolute chaos. I'm being swept forward with the crowd. In fact, I don't think I could get away from them if I wanted to. What sort of days have it been for you, sir?
Oh, it's been great. It's really good.
It was a good day, too, for more commercial concerns. The first copies of the wedding dress were underway the moment it was revealed. And now, less than 2 hours later, the first replica was complete. The crowd asked for it, and the crowd got it. The kiss. The grand finale to a perfect day, when everyone had difficulties suppressing a smile. They're off to the Azores on honeymoon, for a bit of peace and quiet.
Her family is descended from King Charles II. Her father, Major Ronnie Ferguson, who used to be in the Life Guards, is the Prince of Wales polo manager.
Born in 1959 to Major Ronald Ferguson and Susan Wright, Sarah grew up in Hampshire with one older sister, Jane. Sarah cites her parents' divorce as triggering her eating disorder, where she turned to overeating for comfort. After her parents divorced in 1974, both remarried. Her mother to Hector Barrantes, a polo player. The pair moved to Argentina, sparking controversy, while Sarah stayed in the UK with her father. Major Ferguson then married Susan Deptford. They had 3 more children together: Andrew, Alice and Elizabeth. Sarah attended Hurst Lodge School in Ascot, where she was said to be not particularly academic, but had a real passion for sports, such as tennis.
I did know her quite well, because the sort of classes that you have with art, you do get to know the girls well. And she was always a very confident girl, and I think she could cope with most things.
She got 5 O-levels, was good at sports, and became head girl.
She was a very good friend as a schoolgirl. She was good fun. She was held in high regard by her contemporaries, and the pupils, in fact, when she became head girl, they were very, respectful to her.
Over the years, Ferguson worked as a chalet girl, cleaner and waitress. After finishing a course at Queen's Secretarial College, Sarah worked at an art gallery. Later, she worked at 2 public relations firms, and then finally at a publishing company, where she was working when she met Andrew.
Sarah never did return to work, but left this personal recorded message for telephone callers.
This is Burton Publishing. Please leave your message after the tone, and Sarah Ferguson will call you back.
She's got 1 book out already, an illustrated account of the early exhibitions of the Impressionist painters.
It's my book, I want everybody to, I want the world to know it. You see, because I'm definitely trying to relate that I'm a working woman. So, spelt wrong. Ferguson, BCK, Graphic Arts, London.
Sarah had 2 serious relationships before Andrew: Kim Smith Bingham, a stockbroker, and Irish autosports businessman Paddy McNally, whom she was engaged to. McNally was more than 20 years her senior, and so perhaps prepared Sarah for a more mature role within the royal family. They have both stayed friends over the years. Andrew was known as a prolific bachelor before his engagement. However, when Sarah came along, she seemed like the right fit for him, but also the royal role she must take on.
But in the context of your role as a wife, I mean, you're not the person to obey meekly, are you?
No, absolutely not. That's exactly why. It won't be a physical bit all the time.
Is there just somewhere inside you a certain sadness in a way that you've been taken over by the great ceremony and all the guests you have to have, as we've heard?
Yeah,
that it's not quite your day as it might have been?
Sarah's got 600 of the 720 guests.
What? No, it's very, very much my day. I'm marrying Andrew, and that's all there is about it. It is so much my day, because I'm going to be with him, and I'm doing it for him. I'm not doing it for the rest of the world. I'm very sad not to be getting married in Double Village Church, but I'm equally so delighted to be getting married in the Abbey. Anywhere would do, whether it's Gretna Green, anywhere. I'm quite happy because I'm marrying Andrew. That's all that matters.
At first, the exuberant Sarah was popular in the press and blew into the royal family like a breath of fresh air. Seemingly a good addition with her fun spirit and straightforward approach. Sarah and Andrew were friends before dating, saying it was definitely not love at first sight. However, this seemed to be a good thing, as a friendship was established, and then love grew. Ferguson was 26 by the time she married, putting her in a much stronger position as she had had time to develop her interests outside the royal family.
The wedding presents have been arriving by the 100. The palace won't say exactly how many.
You can hear it now. It's a singing monkey.
What should we do with these?
Oh, must be kept for the children. Eventually.
In their sitting room at Buckingham Palace, Prince Andrew and Sarah talked to Sue Lawley and me about the wedding and their future together.
My primary job is the Navy. Royal duties fit in with the Navy. And that is the way that I intend to play it from now on.
When he's away on exercises, do you think that will worry you? You feel a bit lonely?
No, obviously I'll miss him very much. Would be a fool not to miss him. But I mean, I think it's a very good thing. I think it's very healthy to a relationship to a marriage, whatever. I also enjoy it. I enjoy the independence. I can get on with my work. I can do my own thing too, and I'll see him at the weekend. So it's basically, it works very well.
On the 23rd of October 1986, the Duke of York enrolled in a 4-month helicopter warfare instructor's course at RNAS Yeovilton. Upon graduation, he served from February 1987 to April 1988 as a helicopter warfare officer in 702 Naval Air Squadron, RNAS Portland. Even though Sarah was used to her independence, she was determined to be a dutiful wife and fit in with the royal family's more traditional protocols. This included moving location with his work and even getting her helicopter license.
There was one surprise. What's this about learning to fly?
Yes, well, I'm
surprise at all.
hoping to fly at some stage.
Why do you want to do
In the
that?
very near future. I want to do that, A, for a sense of achievement, B, because it is his career, it is what he loves. I want to be able to sit down at dinner with him and discuss what he does and what he's done in the day. And it's very, very important to me that I know how to fly an aircraft so I can talk about it. And also, I want to do it myself.
She went above and beyond what was expected of her role as wife and Duchess, and actually took less time to get her wings than her husband. An impressive achievement. The Duke of Edinburgh was said to be immensely proud of his daughter-in-law. Aviation was hugely important to the prince. Sarah's father, Major Ronald Ferguson, had also been Philip's polo manager, so he had known Sarah as a child. They were said to have the same bawdy humour and were very fond of each other.
That is HMS Bristol.
So, so this is where I live, not here, but down in Portland.
This is it. This is the environment within which you have to live.
There's a very good fish and chip shop down the road, so that'll be useful.
Where on earth did you find that out from? Have you been hunting this morning?
Yes.
Sort of thing that you've been sort of scouting around for various bits and pieces. But do you like it down here?
Well, I can even cook then.
What? Thank you very much indeed.
You can live on fish and chips.
What an awful song.
Yes, I do. I love it down here now, but only because Andrew, I want to be a good wife to you, and so therefore I will love it anywhere I go, as long as you like it and it's your career.
Ow! Just squeeze my fingers. Ow!
Kiss you then.
Why do you want me to kiss you?
Go on, hurry up.
Why?
Hurry up! Stop filming, quick! Go on, dare you?
You're a monster. Oh God! Don't fall over the top of the wall.
That and her sense of style, sense of fun, unaffected, unstuffy.
It wasn't necessary for her role as Duchess to take on too many public appearances. However, she made a visible effort to meet crowds and create a heavy schedule for herself. And she took very naturally to it, always with great enthusiasm. Ferguson began to branch out, determined to find causes close to her heart. Stepping away from the norm, she chose to support Tracy Edwards as she skippered the first all-female crew in the Whitbread round-the-world yacht race. Admiring their perseverance, strength and bravery, the public could begin to understand Ferguson and see her individual characteristics begin to shine. Sarah slotted into the family well. Her natural love of country sports and animals fared well for her. The late Queen Elizabeth and Ferguson had a lot of similar interests, especially in country activities, specifically horses.
It wasn't particularly extraordinary that Sarah Ferguson was invited to lunch with the royals at Ascot. Apart from her royal ancestry, she has long been part of the charmed circle of safe and usually horsey people around the monarchy, by virtue of her father's role as a courtier.
Since this was the Queen's greatest love, they enjoyed conversing about it often and could be seen at equestrian events together on numerous occasions. The Queen had known the Ferguson family for 3 decades and so had watched Sarah grow up. They were very relaxed in each other's company and got on far better than the Queen did with Diana, who had married her other son, now King Charles III, 5 years previously. Even though this was the case, that didn't affect Diana and Sarah's relationship, which had started long before they were both members of the royal family. Technically, they were fourth cousins, both descendants of William Cavendish, 4th Duke of Devonshire. However, it wasn't until 1980 that they became close. This was before either had married into the royal family. During Diana's marriage, she would confide in Sarah as she struggled with her new role. They were even said to share an astrologer. In Ferguson's autobiography, published in 1995, she wrote, "She was 2 years younger than I, and I strove to support and protect her as I would a younger sister, as I still do today, as a best friend. Diana was one of the quickest wits I knew. Nobody made me laugh like her." Even though Andrew and Sarah had met at polo matches before, Diana was the reason a romance started blossoming. She had recommended to the late Queen that an invite be extended to Sarah during Ascot Week. Her Majesty would host guests for dinner parties during the event, where they'd also stay overnight, have tours of the royal palace, and only depart after breakfast the next day. During that one dinner, Sarah sat next to Andrew, and the pair started dating shortly after. Sarah later explained in her autobiography that she was especially nervous about photographers, recalling, "I looked over at my friend in befuddlement. 'Just keep smiling,' Diana whispered. I always felt safe in mimicking Diana."
Diana and Fergie were very close. There was a little bit of jealousy on Diana's part, because she felt that Fergie breezed into the royal family and everyone loved her, and they looked at her, Diana, and thought she was dull, and that Fergie was this load of fun and noisy and lovable, and, well, which she was. But Fergie was very unhappy too.
Diana later revealed to her biographer Andrew Morton that Fergie wooed everybody in this family and did it so well. "She left me looking like dirt." The late princess added that Prince Charles told her, "I wish you would be like Fergie, all jolly." Their relationship, similar to our current-day sisters-in-law Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle, has been complex and saw them as both best friends and rivals, especially with the involvement of the media. During the good times, they allowed each other to be the fun, mischievous woman they naturally are, play fighting in the snow during a photo call, and riding a quad bike across a golf course in long evening gowns at Balmoral.
So, no, Diana and Fergie had this great relationship, and they used to do crazy things together. They got out the Queen Mother's Bentley from the garage, put on a chauffeur's hat, and sort of did wheelies all round the drive with the car. No one found out. So they used to do these crazy things, and I think it just lightened the atmosphere for them.
I had a very large speech here, but I've decided that with the heat, I shall make it exceedingly brief. Also because we've got Scotland Yard holding up the back here. Now I'm sure that Sarah has something to say about opening it. Thank you.
Is that lovely?
I would just like to thank you all for the most wonderful welcome. And also, I would like to officially declare the 1989 Nipawin Agricultural Fair open.
'Cause I'm still fire and you're still gasoline. Yeah, I was fire and you was gasoline. I was fire and you was gasoline.
Sarah's sense of humour was brought out when with Andrew. He said it was something that initially attracted him to her. The affection between the pair was there for all to see. A couple very much in love. Making most of their public appearances together, they also acted as a great team, radiating stability, respect, and affection for one another. Andrew's naval commitments made it increasingly difficult for the pair to be together. In 1986, the Queen gifted her supposed favourite son, Prince Andrew, Duke of York, and Sarah, a 665-acre parcel of land on the Sunninghill Park estate in Berkshire as their wedding present. Working on the construction together, it was completed in 1990. The project was dubbed Dallas Palace and South York, due to its similar facade to the ranch house in the 70s TV show Dallas. The Duke and Duchess ended up selling the county house and estate in 2004 for $4 million more than the asking price, even though it was now under a Heathrow flight path. The house fell into disrepair and was demolished in 2016. With Andrew often not by her side, Fergie had to attend many events alone, or was sometimes accompanied by Diana and Charles. Unfortunately, the press began to make cruel comparisons between the two women, putting a huge strain on their relationship. Fergie had struggled with an eating disorder since her parents divorced, which meant she turned to food for comfort, often overeating and feeling uncomfortable about her weight. Standing next to the Princess of Wales for public events was difficult because she would be compared constantly by the press. Diana and I used to talk about it a lot, she said, about what it is to be on the front pages and people judging what size you are. Standing next to Diana, Sarah stood out even more with her love of diverse, bold patterns, bright colours, puff shoulders, and unique tailoring methods.
And I just want to see, no, I don't know if I like that other spot there. I think we might get rid of that spot one.
Yeah.
And just turn it round to be plain.
You could put that in the hair.
My model stand doesn't look so beautiful.
Let's see the back.
Back is lovely, very simple, nice and full.
This will swell when I dance, won't it?
Oh yes, it's lovely and full.
For the Queen's birthday.
She was also known for her decadent hair accessories, putting rows of flags, large ribbons, and engraved gemmed shapes throughout, always in theme for an event.
The Duchess, who has an eye for these things, wore a maple leaf in her bow, a compliment gratefully received by the Canadians.
Today sees a new beginning in my Canadian relationship, for from now on, it will be ours, and not just mine.
There appeared to be complete family agreement.
Some today say she was quite a pioneer in her style, a breath of fresh air, and an unsung hero of royal fashion.
So there's no sort of official royal fashion guidebook which every member of the royal family is given at some point, and they must adhere to every rule. But I think there's a generally accepted belief that women should look quite ladylike, they should look quite elegant, they should look immaculate at all times. There's not really much kind of dressing down. And that they need to kind of honour the engagements that they're attending. So they always want to look right for the occasion, whether that occasion is the state opening of Parliament or whether it's a more relaxed hospital visit. They want to look good in that moment, and they want to look quite respectful, quite conservative. But I think as the family is modernising, perhaps they're starting to take a few more risks than they would have done in the past as well.
Ascot Week is a focus for English high fashion. This was the testing time.
Thin ankles, thin wrists, thin waist.
Good calves.
And the rest help.
She and Linka had worked hard on the dress for Ladies' Day.
It does fit beautifully.
Yeah.
Okay, marvellous.
That's great. Right.
We can go on to the next one.
That's
then.
fine.
Right.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
we were all right for Ascot, aren't we?
Oh, I think so.
It was better than all right. This time she was on, or in, a winner.
When we're talking about royal fashion, what we're often talking about are the rules and expectations that members of the royal family are expected to follow when they're dressing for the job. Royal style is about the individual interpretation of those rules by different members of the royal family. Their lives are so different to what the majority of the world experience, and they're very private about that. So there's a fascination with what they wear because we expect clothes to reflect our lives. We dress for the demands of our lives, our jobs, where we live. So we're interested in seeing them because we hope it will give away a little bit about what it means to have that kind of role. So I feel like we can only begin to understand the problems, the difficulties, the challenges that royals face when we see them and when we really take the time to look at what they're wearing.
The Duchess chose a not entirely flattering black suit to come to the concert hall of Ontario Place, an entertainment complex built on 3 man-made islands in the harbour.
Unfortunately, with the scrutiny of the press, she was ridiculed for her style at the time, saying her choices were unsuitable and unflattering, and her whole appearance became a target for mocking.
During the walkabouts, people try to catch a glimpse, or better still, a word. What's it like from their side of the barrier, facing a crowd of total strangers, finding something to say?
Very trendy glasses on, haven't you? It was hot when you were wrong. Thank you very much. They're beautiful, aren't they? Scott, what made you come out here?
I married a Canadian.
There's been, you know, some concern about the reception you had in Quebec, and depending on who you listened to, it was a frightening experience for you. You were close to tears, and it was all very dramatic. I mean, how was it from your point of view?
From my point of view, I wasn't close to tears at all. It'd take a great deal more to get me close to tears. It was so very few, and it wasn't hardly any people booing at all. And it was just obviously a pop concert, and it's always like that wherever you go, all over the world. People are going to some boo, some don't, some chant. I mean, you never know what you're going to get. So
I think going to a concert such as that, particularly at the end of a warm day, when it's a festival, people have had quite a lot to drink. They're enjoying themselves, and I think there's a little bit of feeling of why we made to wait for these people. That's all, and it certainly didn't bother us.
The Duke and Duchess did their bit to save the whales by adopting a member of the endangered beluga species. The proud parents receiving a picture of their whale for the mantelpiece. It's a cause they both feel strongly about.
From my point of view as a sailor, I see quite often dolphins, whales going around, but they are a diminishing species, and I think it's very important to give them every chance we can, particularly seeing as from what we've learned so far that the St. Lawrence is fairly dirty, and they're not dying out because people are hunting them. They're now dying out because of the pollution in the St. Lawrence.
During Sarah's first pregnancy, she gained more weight than the press had decided appropriate, and from that, she was given cruel nicknames and constantly shamed for her appearance. Subsequently, she lost weight and then, during her second pregnancy with Eugenie, was criticised for not putting on enough weight. A never-ending battle no person should ever have had to deal with, especially when carrying a child.
Remarkably well as she emerged from the Portland hospital, ready to give the world a first glimpse of a new royal baby. Princess Eugenie was fast asleep, blissfully unaware of her celebrity status. The first wispy evidence suggests she'll have her mother's red hair. She made a special effort to chat to an 82-year-old lady who had waited outside the hospital for 2 weeks.
It's nice to see him. I love the baby.
Why do you follow them? Why do you like them so much?
I love the royal family. Nobody can say no wrong about them.
After the birth of Beatrice, Sarah was asked by Andrew to join him for an official visit to Australia for 6 weeks. She received a huge amount of backlash for leaving her newborn at home, only adding fuel to the fire. Fergie supported a number of charities during her royal duties, and her main focus was on motor neuron disease. Ferguson really shone a light on the incurable disease, which was not well published before. She was determined to be their voice and showed great sincerity when speaking to people suffering from the disease. One man who was struggling to speak to the Duchess bursts into tears as she offers him some comforting words, telling him, "I will be your voice." Unfortunately, Her work got hardly any coverage due to the media favouring other members of the royal family and the supposed unphotogenic nature of the causes involved. Fergie's fond relationship with skiing was scrutinised over the years as frivolous. This negativity overshadowed the positive work she was putting in for the Winter Sports Association, specifically their Disabled Skiers programme. One year, when pregnant and therefore unable to ski, she still visited the slopes to watch the races. She was a major benefactor of the association and was greatly involved. By 1991, Ferguson was finding being part of the royal family and public eye increasingly difficult. The Duke and Duchess had only seen each other for 40 days a year over the last 5 years due to Andrew's duties as a naval officer. Diana and Sarah were both miserable in their marriages for different reasons and duties as part of the royal family.
She was planning with Fergie that they would leave the royal family together. And naturally, she'd let Fergie do it and she hung back. But I mean, in Diana's heart, she never wanted to leave Charles.
Before anything could be decided, photographs of multimillionaire Steve Wyatt and Fergie were leaked. According to reports, the photos showed Wyatt with his arm around Ferguson, who joined for a holiday with her eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice, via his private jet. 6 months later, more compromising photographs were released with financial advisor John Bryan, causing widespread ridicule and contributing to her further estrangement from the royal family.
Disclosures about her private life and a succession of stories about failed business ventures.
The Princess of Wales was visiting a Barnardo's project today. She ignored questions about her sister-in-law, who is also one of her closest friends.
Ma'am.
Mom, what do you feel about that? Whose fault was it, do you think?
I don't know whose fault it was, but I hate to see divorce anywhere.
Relationships are difficult, and I'm sure that when people are always asking about it, it makes it even more difficult, taking pictures and watching so carefully.
Well, I think Fergie's a very independent woman, and it looks like she's making a decision that's in her best interest, and I support that.
Well, if the briefing is correct, it looks as if the palace is trying to very much distance itself from the Duchess, to portray her as the one who's in the wrong, who started the proceedings for separation. And it looks as if it might be that they're trying a job of social execution on the Duchess.
The Duchess of York left Balmoral Castle today using a side entrance of the royal estate to drive to Aberdeen Airport. Her 2 daughters, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, were with her. No longer the luxury or privilege of an aircraft of the Queen's flight, for the Duchess just an ordinary scheduled flight to Heathrow. Buckingham Palace say the departure was as planned before the publication of the photos, which showed her half-naked at the poolside with her Texan financial advisor. The Duke of York, though, looked relaxed today as he joined the Queen at the traditional Sunday service at Balmoral. Details of any divorce settlement will have to decide on who gets custody of the Yorks' 2 children. They are 5th and 6th in line to the throne. That will have been at the centre of discussions by advisers at Balmoral Castle over the last week.
The Queen announced she would not be responsible for Sarah's debts. However, she did gift her with £500,000 to buy a new house for her and the children, £350,000 cash and a monthly allowance. At one point, the Duchess's stock could not have fallen any lower. Pilloried by the press, she was forced to cope with a very public banishment from the royal family, on top of debts of £4 million.
It's been a difficult and controversial 12 months for the Duchess, with the breakdown of her marriage and the row over those photos. During 3 days visiting sufferers of motor neurone disease, she said her charity work had helped her cope, but that the priority was still to maintain her own family unit.
Andrew and I speak every day, and it's very important that we do keep that huge friendship, which we've always said we are. And it's great, the children, we all have a great time.
Has what's happened changed your view of the world?
It's made me very much more thoughtful and made me very much more aware of trying to control my spontaneity a little bit so I don't fall into awful great big poo traps and the ramifications are too much for me to cope with.
Was that a fault? Was that something you saw as a fault in yourself?
Oh, I think so. I think I made huge faults, don't we all? Make huge mistakes. But you just got to live and learn and get on with life. My life is very much just, you know, seeing each day how it is, helping people as much as possible, looking after my girls, and hopefully in the months to come, the laughter and the joy will come springing back into it.
In 1995, Sarah was said to have sent a bouquet of flowers to Princess Margaret, who wrote a letter to Ferguson saying, "You have done more to bring shame on the family than could ever have been imagined." Somehow, Fergie managed to hold her head up high and keep a smile on her face. An extraordinary act of bravery when, inside, one would presume she was going through extraordinary humiliation and pain. Queen Elizabeth II referred to 1992 as an annus horribilis, Latin for a horrible year. It was a year that 3 royal marriages collapsed, a fire destroyed more than 100 rooms in Windsor Castle, and Sarah's extremely heated scandal spooked Britain and the monarchy.
1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis. I suspect that I'm not alone in thinking it so. Indeed, I suspect that there are very few people or institutions unaffected by these last months of worldwide turmoil and uncertainty.
She can be heard with a hoarse throat from smoke inhalation. In 2007, when she was asked by Harper's Bazaar why she wanted to divorce officially, Fergie explained, "I wanted to work. It's not right for a princess of the royal house to be commercial, so Andrew and I decided to make the divorce official so I could go off and get a job." Due to Ferguson's large debt, she needed to utilize her name to make as much money as quickly as possible. Sarah already had a long relationship with Weight Watchers after she lost weight after her first pregnancy. From this, she is thought to have earned a large sum of money over her 11-year endorsement. The exact figure is unknown.
Well, what it's done is that Weight Watchers has given me confidence. It's supported me. It's made me feel secure. So many people get it wrong. They think Weight Watchers is just about weight. It's not. It's about a way of looking at life, full stop, about taking stock, taking control and saying, okay, I'm all right and I can do it. But take many steps, step by step, pound a week, whatever. That's good. That's great. Don't beat yourself up and go forward.
In 2009, Sarah participated in an ITV experiment in which she visited a council estate to listen to their life stories and give advice on proper living. The result was a programme called The Duchess on the Estate.
Word has got round that the Duchess is filming on the estate, attracting youths from the local area.
How are you doing?
All right.
Going here.
What's with the cameras and that?
Well, we're just, making a documentary on how we can make some changes around here and stop all the litter and seeing if we can't get more sort of community spirit going here. You'd help us, wouldn't you?
A 2009 Guardian article called programmes like this an arrested Victorian attitude to the deserving poor. The Duchess did write a number of children's books since the early 90s, which have had a positive reception and still receive good reviews online today. They often feature children with red hair, like Little Red, and have an adventurous spirit, somewhat a reflection of herself. Tea with Ruby is a tale of a girl who can't seem to maintain her good manners until she is unexpectedly invited for tea with the Queen. In desperation, she asks everyone she knows how to polish her poise, running to family members, to the playground and the postman for advice, somewhat mirroring how Sarah probably felt entering the royal family with little guidance. Tea with Ruby became a New York Times bestseller.
So I drew on the napkin Little Red, my doll, a rag doll standing like that. And I took the napkin to F.A. Schwartz and said, could you make her up into a doll? We sold the dolls for $20, started Chances for Children, leading on to Sarah Ferguson Foundation. Howard Lutnick gave me an office in the 101st floor of the World Trade Center. On that particular day, September 11th, I was going to my office and I was late by 20 minutes. In the rubble and the devastation of September 11th, a fireman found Little Red, my doll.
Ma'am, excuse me, what are your thoughts for your American friends today?
I don't have enough words. Very grateful.
I don't have enough words, she said, just very grateful.
Fergie took yet another career U-turn when she stepped into the film industry for the film The Young Victoria, a story close to her heart.
Do you ever feel like a chess piece in a game being played against your will?
Do you?
Constantly.
Then you had better master the rules of the game until you play it better than they can.
You don't recommend I find a husband to play it for me?
Not for you. With you.
Well, I thought of this idea 15 years ago when I wrote 2 history books, and I felt that the wonderful Victoria, who we remember as a great queen and an empress, was always small, dark, and in black and mourning for 65 years. And in fact, she was, not like that. She was just this young, beautiful young lady in love. And I felt that her story needed to be told.
And it was Sarah who conceived the idea for a film based on the early years of Queen Victoria.
Well, I think a little idea and brilliant talent, you know. So it's yes, it
we
was.
needed the idea.
Yeah,
very much. Because this is a story that hasn't been told. I mean, everyone knows about the mourning and the widow, and no one knows about the love. No one knows about this passionate side of her that existed to the full extent.
And I thought that, you know, in this day and age, we hear so much bad news and credit crunch and all these awful things. But what about true love, you know? And if we sort of speak from the heart, act with the heart, we can do so much.
Yeah.
Because it's the most extraordinary story. She was an extraordinary woman. As a young woman, she was vivacious, she was intelligent, and as you said, we've never seen that before,
No one's seen her as the rebel. You know, she was not at all repressed. She had 9 children. It's like, you know, she was incredibly passionate. And I think this is hopefully a film that will capture a young girl who's in love and in a job where she's overwhelmed by. I think that's very accessible.
In 2010, the Duchess of York was reported to have met twice with undercover journalists posing as wealthy businessmen. They convinced her to take $40,000 in cash with the understanding that she'd give access to Prince Andrew, all while secretly being filmed. News of the World reported that she could be heard on tape saying, £500,000 when you can, to me, to open doors.
The fake sheikh. He was often found in hotel rooms exposing alleged wrongdoings. The Duchess of York apologised after she was caught out offering access to her ex for a substantial sum.
Interestingly, exposure surrounding the incident increased Ferguson's public profile and notoriety. Despite her downfalls, Sarah has recently found an ally in the Queen Consort. According to royal sources, Camilla offered an olive branch and welcomed Prince Andrew's ex-wife back into the royal fold. Sarah was said to have spent Christmas with Camilla and Charles in 2022. Both women have a love of horses and get along well, and Ferguson was invited to stay over the Boxing Day shoot. Fergie has been loyal to Prince Andrew since the pair separated and forever has his back. She is also a devoted mother to her children, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice. Elizabeth II respected this and had always kept some form of relationship with Sarah. Her Majesty invited the Duchess to Royal Ascot and Balmoral Castle, where she is said to actively stay out of the way of Prince Philip, who would grimace if caught in his eyeline. After not being invited to the Prince and Princess of Wales's wedding in 2011, Sarah attended the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's in 2018 and is said to be on good terms with Prince Harry. When attending her daughter Eugenie's wedding the same year, she was, to the surprise of many, pictured standing next to Prince Philip, who swore he'd never be in a room with her again. The Duchess of York has had huge support from the US over the years. This allowed her to adjust her image, work off debt, and be her true, authentic self. In the 90s, she made a cameo on an episode of Friends and has been seen in circles with high-list celebrities alongside her daughters. This included a close friendship with Lisa Marie Presley, who passed away at the beginning of 2023. In her eulogy, Sarah affectionately called Lisa her sissy and quoted Queen Elizabeth II saying, "Grief is the price we pay for love." After Her Majesty's passing, the Duke and Duchess of York were given the honour of caring for her beloved corgis, Muick and Sandy. Even though the Duke and Duchess officially divorced in 1996, they have remained close ever since. Fergie explained in 2018, "Although we are not a couple, we really believe in each other. The Yorks are a united family. We stand up for each other, fight for each other, and we sit round the table and have afternoon tea together. It's a very important part of our lives." Sarah once even described the two of them as the happiest divorced couple ever, sparking rumours that the pair may soon remarry, something neither has confirmed nor denied. All eyes were watching as she navigated huge debt, her divorce, and being the first female ex-royal, all while still very much in the public eye.
And the power of authenticity as well. I think in a world where we're sort of all told to be similar or not do stuff, the queer community is always standing up and being themselves. I can imagine that inspires you as well.
Well, you're very kind to say that. It really does. You know, that's why coming here tonight has been so. I really wanted to come. I really, really wanted to be here, and I wanted to support Sarah, who founded it. And I wanted to be here because I know what it feels like in 35 years to be ostracized sometimes, to be judged, to be not accused of being not normal. And really, you just want to be yourself and to be allowed to be free to express yourself. Absolutely. Which is very, very difficult.
Now a millionaire in her own right, she has devoted more time than ever to her charity work, including Children in Crisis, which she founded in 1993, and working as a patron for the Teenage Cancer Trust, among many other kids' charities. Now a grandmother, she is very hands-on in her role and explains she is in granny heaven. Even though Fergie's royal fairy tale didn't quite live up to expectations, she has somehow navigated to a point where being a contemporary woman can coexist with royalty. The title of one of her many books, Reinventing Yourself with the Duchess of York, summed up her philosophy of getting on with the show, a motto she has learnt to live by. In July 2022, Ferguson received the Global Humanitarian Award at the 25th Magna Graecia Awards. The British tabloid press is already awash with an unusual amount of positive coverage about the Duchess, seemingly thawing the hearts of many. Fergie may be set for an all but official royal comeback.